Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Thanks.
Last time I saw you, do you remember the last time we were eating chicken wings?
Yes, I was wearing a Raptors jersey, batting my chest about Toronto and eating hot chicken wings and then playing pool.
I remember that.
That was great.
I think you beat me at pool.
I think I might have. I don't know if I won the right way, though, because I feel like when you win because the other person thinks the 8-ball, it doesn't really count.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like an earned win.
Thanks for ratting me out.
You're welcome.
I almost sounded like, we were up against one another. I just kind of lost. Instead, I botched it and sank the 8-ball.
I don't remember. I vaguely remember.
No, you're right.
Oh, okay, good.
Can we play the clip from the new record? Take a listen.
I'd do anything to relive our memories and listen to your songs play in my head. 'Cause I hate the silence, it's the only thing I get. I wish I could hear your voice once again in your heartbeat. All of the small things, oh.
That's Jessie Reyez and Love in the Dark from her upcoming album, Before Love Came to Kill. This is my question. You know, there was a time when artists worked their entire lives towards their first record, right? And that was their grand statement of who they are. Hi, welcome to me. Here's my introduction to you. It's my 12-song record. It's not that old, what you're doing right now. Like, you really are sort of a pioneer in a lot of ways of a different kind of thought about how music works. That instead of putting out a record, you can put out a single, you can put out an EP, and you can have, as you've shown, really massive success without putting out a record. So I guess my question is, like, why is it important to you to do it all?
For a long time, and I remember when my team and I partnered with the label, even before we started with the label, because we had Kiddo done before we even partnered with anybody. Kiddo was done, and we would talk about it, me and my manager, and it was just one manager at the time, Ruiz. We'd be like, man, we got to make sure we build the foundation properly. And I feel like the way people consume music right now is beautiful for discovery, but it's difficult for respecting a whole project because things are in playlists, you know? DSPs all over the place, like Spotify, Apple, everything is in playlists. So it's a rainbow of songs from everywhere. And I feel like there's only select artists that have almost earned the right for the world to be like, oh, hold on, someone dropped a project, and like put their phone on airplane mode, or save the album for a road trip, or save the album for a long flight, because they know that they want to just like embrace it and give it that sort of time, that full time, instead of just skipping through playlists. And when I first started, I don't think I had that. So Kiddo and Being Human in Public were almost like appetizers to be like, yo, this chef is nice. The big meal's coming. And when the big meal comes, I'm going to put my phone on airplane mode, or you're going to tell your friends about it, or you're going to like save it for a trip so that you could take it in as an entire project that is meant to be taken in.
Why is that important to you? Why is it important to you that people give that time to your art?
I don't know. It's kind of like, you know, when someone plays your favorite song, but they switch it halfway through, and you're bent. You're like, damn, the best part wasn't even there yet, dog. Like, that's how you feel, but nobody knows because they didn't give the song like its moment to actually breathe. It's like having a rose too close to your face, so all you see is red, but you got to step back. You got to get perspective. So stepping back is almost getting like, okay, 4 songs in and being like, oh, I get it. I get the theme. I get why this was there. I get the reference of this song into that. I get the analogy that was said in this song that relates back to this one. I get the duality. I get the contrast. I get all those things, but you won't. There's a lot of hidden things in the project. There's a lot of Easter eggs that are hidden there for the people that are actually going to step back and listen to it in its entirety. So I feel like it's that.
I'm happy you said the contrast, because when I listen to your music, when I listen to a bunch of songs in a row, and I typically don't. It shows up on a playlist I have, or I hear it on the radio or something like that. But when I am able to sit down and listen to one of your records or start one of your EPs or even, getting ready for this, listening to more of your music, it is that contrast that always grabs me, that you can write this really heartbreaking song about something that you went through, and then a song about kind of believing in yourself, and then a song about going out and staying out till 5 in the morning. And there's something about those, and then another really sad song. But there's something about the way my emotions go when I listen to all those in a row that's meaningful than just listening to it one-on-one. So I know what you mean.
Cool. Great.
You know what I mean?
That you're seeing all the facets of the human emotional spectrum. Yes, that's lovely. I'm happy that's what's happening.
But you're feeling them in succession.
That's great, man. That's how I feel every day, and my music is just a reflection of me. So, to be honest, I've never made music for other people. So when you say, why is it important for me that people listen to it, it's almost something that I'm learning to think about after the fact, because it wasn't until I made the first project that songs came on and people connected with it like that I was like, oh man, or got messages from people that said that it made them feel like they weren't alone, or messages from people that made them feel like they weren't alone in having such sporadic emotions, or people feeling like they needed extra motivation in their day or whatever. Those are beautiful things that came after I just got started putting music out publicly. That was new for me. That's like an added blessing. That helps give me purpose. That's affirmation that I'm in the proper vocation, that I'm in my passion. But when I'm in my room and I'm making songs, I'm not really thinking about other people. I'm not really thinking about the project. Like, the process for me is different. I'm just output, making songs. And then once it was time to make the album, I step back and then I assess. But
is that harder the bigger it gets, Jessie? I mean, the bigger it gets, the more people are relying on you. Is it harder to write songs for yourself?
No, it's not. It's not, as long as I'm like... It's funny. As long as everything else... Can I... Oh, this is live.
You're live.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. I'm so happy you told me. Okay. So as long
I
as
have a bell I can maybe bang while you curse.
As long as the other stuff in the industry that's not really great, and as long as all the other, like, BS stays, the contrast of what's pure is so apparent. And what's pure for me is still very much writing and performing.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the first part.
There's politics, there's interviews, there's photo shoots, there's like different like numbers, analytics, all this stuff that I wasn't dreaming about when I was 6 years old, that I wasn't thinking about when I was 10 years old doing talent shows, dreaming about being on stage, that I wasn't thinking about when I was 16 and getting rejected from auditions for girl groups, that when I was 20 and I was busking, I wasn't thinking about everything that is the music industry, which is like saying holy money, which is like a contrast in itself. So there's things that I wasn't prepared for. There's things that I'm still learning how to navigate. However, because of those things, because of the things that I wasn't prepared for, and because of the things that I don't really love about the industry, the things that I love become that much more defined. And the thing that I love is still very much creation. It's still very much being at home in my room and writing a song. That's still very like, I love that still.
That's beautiful. And the other S.
Yeah.
Only highlights it. It doesn't diminish it.
Highlights it, man. I mean, it could diminish it if I was trying to look at it that way, but it's all perspective.
Where does that come from, you think?
My parents.
What did they teach you?
They taught me to make sure that I'm finding opportunities everywhere, man. Opportunities everywhere. I saw my parents hustle. My parents have that immigrant story, man. They came from Colombia, which I told you that before.
What'd they do?
They busted their butts.
You can say that one. You can say that one.
They busted their asses, man. They busted their asses. They worked super hard. My dad gave so many years of his life to a company just to help, like, provide for the family, and navigated in a world where they didn't even speak, like, Spanish is their first language, and they did it all while still maintaining culture at home, so that I stayed connected to our heritage, so that I stayed connected to my roots and my identity as someone that's Canadian Colombian, And I feel like a lot of people could complain about, my mom in particular is a really great example of that, because a lot of people complain about the weather. A lot of people complain about how difficult it is sometimes, encountering racism sometimes as an immigrant in a new country, like getting money out here, not being able to make your diplomas valid here after putting in work in another country. Like, there's so many things that you could look at negatively. And my dad, too. My dad lived a difficult life. My dad lost both of his parents at a very young age. Like, both of them struggled. And if you meet both of my parents, they're both so resilient. They're both so resilient. My mom treats everyone like love is first instinct. Like, for her, love is just first instinct. She opens that way. And my dad is just the thickest skinned. He's very blunt. But what's beautiful is that you guys can get in an argument, the most intense argument, and in 10 minutes is just rolls off his shoulder. He's like, all right, cool. Like, let's go get burgers. Like, it's just, he knows not to let those things sink in. And I think that comes from facing adversity. I think that comes from being in not the best of situations and choosing to be resilient and choosing to hustle. And I think that's affected me, and that's probably why I appreciate the good things more than I do focus on the bad.
I can see how it can affect Jessie Reyez, like the career that you're having. Like, it takes a tremendous amount of resilience and lessons you learn from your family in order to make it in a very unlikely industry. Does it enter your music too?
I think so, indirectly. I mean, my parents made me who I am. And who I am is very much filled with dualities and ups and downs and black and whites. So, yeah, I think it just comes out in who I am. My parents are opposites, too. Like, in the way I describe them, I'm not sure if it's apparent, but they are. And so I think that's reflected in me. I can be kind and I can be blunt.
I can see... usually just on Instagram is how I keep up with you now. And every now and then they show up. And but yeah, and it's funny. And I love how you take them with you wherever you go. I also just see, and I'm getting all worked up here now, but I also just see how much they love you. And it's so beautiful.
They're the best, man. They're the best.
But just like how lovely it must be to have your daughter do what you're doing.
It's crazy. It's nuts. I'm really happy. I know people don't, I know there's people that, there's people that are scared about reaching dreams and seeing it come to fruition while everyone's still alive, you know? And I'm happy that, like, all of us are here. Because it would have killed me if it had killed me, you know? So I'm just happy that all of us
if it happened in another.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for you I've been meaning to ask you for a while. It's not based on that. We were talking about you last week as sort of the continuation of what's been happening for a long time, which is Canadians, specifically sort of in Toronto, not just being really successful around the world, but being able to define a sound that other people are emulating around the world. And when we were talking about that, we were talking about Drake, we were talking about The Weeknd, we were talking about Party Next Door. And we had this realization that we had only been talking about men. You know, when you entered this world, what was that like for you to be part of this in your hometown with sort of men paving the way and you having to break into the same industry?
I'm happy. I'm happy being who I am, being able to, I guess, represent for younger women, especially minorities. That might be like, because that's how I felt when I was watching shows, seeing Celia Cruz up on the stage, being like, oh, she's brown skinned like me. She's a woman like me, and she's powerful, and she's not like, I guess the wasn't dressing or moving like society's imposed idea of what feminine beauty should be, you know? So that was dope. But I also feel like that's also because you're taking a moment of time right now. But if you look at the wider spectrum, it's not like it's only been men. Like Nelly Furtado made a wicked impact. Alessia Cara's made a wicked impact. Like, it's been beautiful. I think that for a long time, Canada in particular, Toronto's been, and I've said this before, we've been had dope music here. We've had that for years, especially hip-hop. We have incredible hip-hop roots in this city. Chaos, Cardi, like, we do. The only difference is that now it's just more of on a global scale. And so I think that that's why the world's perception is like, oh, Toronto's inundated. Like, there's something in the water. No, there's been something in the water. The only difference is that now we have the spotlight. And I'm happy, man. I'm happy. I'm happy that you guys put me into the conversation, and I hope that just keeps happening. I hope more musicians from Toronto and Canada, both female and male, keep flourishing and take advantage of this renaissance that the city's going through.
I like what you said there, though, that it's always been here.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
It's nothing new. Hell no. What? Don't you remember like me?
Listen. I'm not saying these things because I don't know it. I'm not saying these things because I'm like, really? Toronto's good? I don't know that. I'm just saying that that's interesting to me. That's an interesting thing to me.
It's sick, man. I remember. And I also remember
What do you
going
remember?
to the
What do you
States.
remember?
I remember singing Julie Black. I remember singing Cardi songs. I remember singing Chaos songs. I remember all those things on the radio. And then I remember also going to the States prior to the city was sort of in this renaissance, and people in the room being like, where are you from? Where are you from? I mean, like, Toronto. And then, okay. And then moving on to the next. And the difference that's felt in the last few years when you're in a room, in a studio, and someone says, where are you from? And you say Toronto. And they're like, oh, because this artist, because that was going on in the city, which is dope. But there's a significant difference, and it's just jokes because the quality of music and the history of music hasn't really changed, but the only difference is the spotlight. Now we got the spotlight.
But with the spotlight comes, well, maybe it doesn't, but with the spotlight can often come a responsibility to keep it going, to nurture the next people who are going to take that spotlight.
Yeah, I think the city does a really good job of that. I mean, it's not like it's just been for a year. It's not like it's just been for 2 years or 3 years. I feel like the city took advantage of the momentum, and that's why you see an influx of so many artists. And I also feel like the city has a beautiful infrastructure of, like, nurturing talent. Like, I myself came from the Remix Project. There's so many different opportunities in the city. You just have to look for them. You just have to hustle, but they're there, and it's just dope.
We don't have a whole lot of time, and there's another thing I wanted to ask you about. You know, I think it was this past summer, and if you don't, tell me how much you want to talk about this, but I know you hurt yourself. Mm-hmm. You hurt your back, right? Mm-hmm. And you had to cancel some gigs.
Yeah.
When your body is a tool of your work, when your body is your performance, you know, in how you sing and how you act and how you maneuver on stage, what happens to you when that thing fails you or when that thing gets hurt and you can't rely on it?
I got depressed.
Did you?
Depressed. Yeah, of course, because I was like, oh, it's over.
Really?
Yeah, for a second I thought it was all over. Well, I thought I was lucky. I got a good pen. I'm lucky that people respect my songwriting because I can make some money. I can keep doing that. But everything else, like artistry and being able to perform and touring, I thought that was over. There was a moment where I just sunk. I sunk. I was so sad, and it wasn't getting better. Like it took trial and error to figure out how to cope with it and figure out how to get it better. But for the first, like, it was difficult. And
how has your relationship with your body changed now that you're feeling better?
I've been making it more of a priority. I'm grateful that I was able to recover the way I have. I'm still not fully back to normal, but I'm still giving her, you know? I'm still giving her, still stretching, still training, still doing all those things.
You never know how much your health is tenuous until it goes away, right?
Dude, there's so many cliches that we heard when we were younger. Like, I remember being in school, hearing, like, hang in there, health is wealth, like, chase your dreams. And when you're a kid, you're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. Those are just sayings. That ain't nothing. And you grow up, and those are bricks of gold that you were given, that you don't, those are bricks of gold covered in tin foil that you don't realize until you're older, that you're like, oh, this is facts. Like, this is facts. It's crazy.
What do you hope, we only have like 40 seconds left. What do you hope 20 years from now, future Jessie Reyez remembers about this time of her life? You're about to go on tour with Billie Eilish. You're about to put on your first record. What do you hope you remember?
I hope I remember feeling happy on stage. I hope I remember the sick tour memories that we've been able to make so far. Having the team all together celebrating after like a really good show. I hope I remember, I hope I remember all my struggles. Like, I hope I'm conscious of all my struggles because I feel like I said earlier, that's what helps define a lot of my happiness when I think about those lows sometimes, as weird as that sounds. But I hope I never forget, the dark times and having to beg people for my music so that I can enjoy it 20 years later when I'm sitting pretty.
Jessie, I think I can speak on behalf of a lot of people. We're all really proud of you.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Come back more often, will you? I don't see you very often.
I will. It's just y'all are so damn early, man.
I know. Tell me about it.